Welcome, everyone. Before we dive in, be sure to check our previous videos, as well as drop your thoughts, feelings, and lessons in the comments. Like the video and subscribe so you never miss stories like this. Let's get into it. Jordan Cole was the kind of black man people noticed twice. Tall, handsome, with warm brown skin and a jawline that made hoodies look like designer wear. He worked hard, never cutting corners, the type who stayed late just to get a slide deck perfect. His apartment smelled like expensive masculine perfume, amber, cedarwood, a hint of smoke. He loved music with deep bass, glossy black cars, fresh tattoos telling quiet stories on his skin in clean, sharp fashion. Not loud, just intentional. When Apex Meridian Consulting called with an offer, it felt like everything was finally aligning. Apex Meridian's office in downtown Chicago was all glass, chrome, and quiet ambition. On his first morning, Jordan walked through the revolving doors in a tailored navy suit, fresh fade, and polished loafers. His heart pounded, but in a good way. This was what he'd worked for: late night studying, cheap coffee, ignored parties. As he rode the elevator up, he inhaled a mix of cologne, perfume, and coffee, thinking, "This is my new world." He promised himself he'd be the best analyst they'd ever seen. He met her before lunch. The firm's lobby cafe was crowded with associates and managers grabbing coffee. Jordan was studying the menu when a soft voice beside him said, "You should try the caramel cold brew. It'll save your life." He turned, and there she was, Tiana Brooks. Smooth brown skin, long lashes, a confident smile. Her locks were pinned up, delicate gold hoops at her ears. She wore a fitted cream blouse and high-waisted pants, looking like a magazine ad. Jordan felt his chest tighten in the sweetest way. They kept bumping into each other. In the elevator, during onboarding sessions at the coffee machine. Their small talk grew into shared jokes, then deeper conversations. Tiana liked R&B and Afro beats, loved candles and wine nights, and knew fashion as well as he did. She laughed at his corny jokes and called him Mr. Cole whenever he wore a particularly sharp outfit. When she finally agreed to dinner after work, Jordan spent extra time choosing the right cologne, the right jacket, the right playlist to drive. Their relationship moved quickly. Dinners turned into weekend brunches, long drives with music too loud, and slow Sundays in cozy sweatpants. Tiana loved how driven he was. He admired how effortlessly she navigated people. In the office, they kept things professional, though the occasional secret smile passed between them in meetings. After a few months, co-workers started whispering that they were company goals. Jordan felt proud. He had a good job, a beautiful black woman by his side, and a future forming in front of him like a clear road. What Jordan didn't know was that Tiana carried chaos like perfume. Before him, there had been Malik Carter, her college love, sharp and charming, but reckless. Their relationship had crashed in a mess of late-night arguments, suspicion, and emotional games. Still, she never really cut him off. Every few months, Malik's name would flash on her phone. A joke, a memory, "Are you up?" text. Tiana liked being desired, even when she knew the man wanting her wasn't good for her. She just promised herself she'd never go that far again. Months into her relationship with Jordan, Tiana got a message that made her heart skip. "Malik, guess who just got an interview at Apex Meridian?" Her stomach flipped, excitement, fear, and something like thrill. She typed, erased, typed again before congratulating him. She didn't tell Jordan. When Malik got the job, he texted her late at night. "We're going to be co-workers now." Wild, right? She stared at the screen, knowing it was a line being crossed. She crossed it anyway and replied with a laughing emoji and, "We'll see each other around." When Malik started at Apex, Tiana's energy shifted. She became more distracted, answering Jordan with curt replies while smiling at her phone. She started working late. On days he knew her workload had been light. In meetings, he caught her glancing across the conference room, eyes lingering somewhere behind him. One afternoon, he turned his head and saw Malik leaning back in his chair, smirking. Jordan felt a flicker of unease, but pushed it down. He trusted Tiana, and he refused to become paranoid without proof. Still, something in his gut tightened. Soon, the changes weren't subtle. At team happy hours, Tiana rolled her eyes at Jordan's comments, calling his concerns dramatic in front of colleagues. When he tried to pull her aside afterward, she shrugged him off. "You overthink everything," she said, loud enough for others to hear. She started teasing his clothes at work, saying his shirt looked cheap or his cologne was too much when she'd once loved it. The casual humiliation stung, especially when coworkers laughed uncomfortably. Jordan began to feel small in spaces where he'd once been confident. At home, he asked what was wrong. Tiana twisted her face, saying he was clingy and too sensitive. She complained that he was boring, that he didn't know how to have fun like he used to. When he suggested counseling or a break from work stress, she scoffed. "You're not my husband," she said. "Relax." Meanwhile, she dressed a little sharp at the office, laughed a little louder around Malik, and kept her phone face down. Jordan noticed the way other new guys watched her too, and the way she seemed to enjoy the attention. Tiana didn't want to just leave. That would make her the villain, and she hated that idea. Instead, she wanted Jordan to explode, to say something she could use against him or make him walk away feeling like it was his fault. Her resentment grew every time he tried to calmly talk things through. In her mind, his steadiness felt like judgment. She craved chaos, attention, the thrill of feeling wanted by many. With Malik around and other men flirting, she decided she needed Jordan gone from her life and, if possible, from Apex too. Malik caught on quickly. He'd always read her better than she admitted. After a flirty conversation in the break room, she confessed she wanted space from Jordan and rolled her eyes about his good guy act. Malik smirked. "You want him out the picture?" he asked. "There are ways." Tiana didn't shut it down. Instead, she listened as he talked about projects, client files, and how much trust Jordan had already earned in a short time. Malik suggested that sometimes people fall from places they never imagined, especially when they don't see it coming. It started with access. Jordan often left a computer locked, but on rush days he'd step away for a quick bathroom break or to grab prints, assuming his things were safe. One afternoon, while he was in a meeting, Malik casually asked an intern to grab some numbers from Jordan's workstation. The intern, oblivious, logged in with Jordan's credentials still active. Malik slipped in behind him, uploaded a restricted file to an unsecured folder, and sent a questionable email from Jordan's account to a competitor's public address. A seed of suspicion quietly took root. A week later, a small crisis erupted. A high-profile client's confidential strategy slide deck appeared in an external inbox it was never supposed to reach. Senior partners were furious. Compliance opened an investigation, and IT traced the document back to Jordan's user profile. His name appeared on every log entry that mattered. In a tense meeting, HR said his credentials had been used improperly. Jordan's palms grew sweaty as he stammered, insisting he'd never done anything like that. Across the table, Tiana sat with her arms folded, gaze cool, offering no support. They called him back the next day. This time, Tiana was invited as a witness, since she'd once raised concerns about Jordan being stressed and acting off lately. She pretended to be reluctant, eyes full of fake worry. HR laid out the evidence, timestamps, file paths, his login activity. Jordan felt like he was watching someone else's life fall apart from outside his own body. He tried to explain his schedule, that he'd been in meetings. A manager shook his head gravely. Then came the sentence. "We're terminating your employment, effective immediately." Security escorted him to his desk. Co-workers peeked over monitors, whispers buzzing like flies. Someone gasped quietly when they saw his box of belongings. Tiana stood near the hallway, arms crossed, pretending to look confused, almost saddened. Malik leaned in the doorway, pretending to scroll his phone, smirk barely hidden. For Jordan, humiliation burned like acid. The man who once walked those hallways smelling of confidence and cologne now felt stripped, fraudulent. At home that night, he sat in silence, expensive perfume bottles lined up on his dresser like a joke. For a few days, Jordan barely moved. Music played softly in the background, songs he used to love, now sounding distant. But something in him refused to surrender. He was too hard-working, too intentional to let a lie define him. He printed every email he could access, dug up calendar invites and badge reports he'd saved. He contacted an employment attorney who specialized in wrongful termination. He called a mentor from another firm who encouraged him. You have to protect your name, Jordan. Your reputation is your currency. Fight smart, not loud. Meanwhile, Apex's compliance officer, a sharp woman named Renee, couldn't shake a nagging feeling. The logs painted Jordan as careless, maybe even malicious, but his track record said otherwise. His reviews had been glowing, his projects clean. She dug deeper, comparing badge swipe data with login times. Something didn't add up. Jordan's badge showed him in a conference room at moments his account was supposedly sending risky files. She requested security footage for the hallway outside his cubicle and the open-plan floor where his desk sat, determined to see who moved where. The security footage told an ugly story. On one recording, Malik hovered around Jordan's desk, while Jordan was clearly seen entering a conference room down the hall. Another angle showed an intern sitting briefly at Jordan's computer, then stepping aside as Malik slid into his chair, fingers flying over the keyboard. Renee paused the video, her jaw tightening. She checked Tiana's email logs next and noticed late-night exchanges with Malik, sometimes referencing getting rid of deadweight and being able to breathe at work again. The pattern was obvious. Jordan had been set up. While Renee's investigation unfolded, Tiana and Malik enjoyed their temporary victory. They laughed more boldly in the office now, staying late and walking out together, Tiana's heels clacking on marble floors. She started flirting openly with a couple of new hires, loving the feeling of multiple men orbiting her. Malik pretended not to care, but jealousy flickered in his eyes when she leaned too close to someone else. Their relationship wasn't love. It was ego feeding ego, chemistry covering a lack of stability. Still, they clung to the illusion that they were winning. The cracks came fast. Tiana began pressuring Malik to make their relationship more official. We work together. We hang out. What are we doing? She demanded one night after drinks. Malik shrugged, saying he wasn't trying to label everything. She brought up moving in, and he laughed it off, saying she was being intense. The argument spilled onto the street, right outside the building where a few co-workers, catching ride shares, saw them yelling. The same people who'd once envied their chemistry now whisper about how messy they looked together. When Renee presented her findings to senior leadership, the room grew icy. The partners watched the security footage, read the email threads, and reviewed Jordan's spotless performance record. Betrayal wasn't just between co-workers. It was a direct attack on the firm's integrity. They scheduled disciplinary hearings for Tiana and Malik. Both walked into HR's office at different times, unaware of how much evidence lay against them. Each tried to spin a story, blaming stress, miscommunication, or even Jordan's supposed incompetence. But lies crumble fast when the truth has timestamps and video footage. In the final meeting, Tiana and Malik were confronted together with the evidence. As emails and footage played out, their faces shifted from confusion to panic to rage, toward each other. Malik tried to pin the plan on Tiana. She threw his name into every sentence she could. HR listened calmly, took notes, then read the verdict. Both were terminated effective immediately for gross misconduct and ethical violations. No severance. No gentle references. Security escorted them out like they had done to Jordan. But this time there was no confused sympathy, just cold disgust. Outside the building, Tiana realized how quickly the air could thin when success evaporated. Recruiters stopped returning her calls once references came back, not eligible for rehire. Her savings dwindled. Malik blocked her number days after their firing, already busy flirting with someone new he'd met online. She picked up a job at a low-paying retail store, her back aching after long shifts on her feet. The suit she once wore to Apex hung in her closet, reminders of a life she'd thrown away chasing ego and momentary validation. Back at Apex, Renee and the partners made another call. Jordan sat in his small living room when his phone rang, expecting another rejection email. Instead, he heard a partner's voice apologizing. They explained the investigation, the new findings, and admitted that they had failed him. "We'd like to offer you your position back," the partner said, "with a promotion and back pay. You were wrong, and we want to make it right." Jordan listened quietly, heart pounding. He agreed to return, but only after negotiating better terms, knowing his worth more clearly now. When Jordan walked back into Apex, the atmosphere felt different. Some co-workers approached him with genuine smiles, saying they were glad he was back and that they'd always felt something was off about his firing. One of those colleagues was Simone Harris, a thoughtful project manager with big curly hair and kind eyes. Simone had defended him in private conversations, refusing to believe Jordan would jeopardize a client. "I'm really happy you're here again," she told him, her voice steady. Unlike Tiana's flashy charm, Simone's presence felt calming and safe. Simone and Jordan started working on a complex project together. She admired his diligence. He appreciated her clarity and emotional intelligence. They discussed music between tasks, traded podcast recommendations, and gently fell into a rhythm. Simone encouraged him to try therapy to process what he'd been through. He took her advice, finding a black male therapist who helped him unpack betrayal, self-worth, and boundaries. Jordan returned to the gym, got a new tattoo symbolizing resilience, upgraded his wardrobe, and picked a new signature fragrance, one that had no memories of Tiana attached to it. One chilly evening, Jordan was leaving work when he heard a familiar voice call his name. He turned and saw Tiana standing on the sidewalk, dressed in a cheap coat from a retail job. Makeup slightly smudged after a long day. The confidence that once wrapped around her like silk was gone. She gave him a tentative smile. "Hey, Jordan," she said. "You look good." Her eyes lingered on his tailored coat, polished boots, and the quiet calm in his posture. She laughed nervously, glancing up at the gleaming Apex building behind him. Tiana tried to explain how she'd been going through things, how Malik had manipulated her, how she never meant for it to go that far. Her voice trembled between excuses and half apologies. She placed a hand lightly on his arm, her perfume weaker than he remembered. "Maybe we could talk sometime. Grab a drink, just as friends," she suggested. Jordan listened, really listened, feeling the old pain rise up but no longer control him. The hurt was there, but it had turned into something else. Wisdom, distance, and an acceptance that some people choose chaos. He gently moved her hand away. "Tiana, I truly hope you figure things out," he said, his tone kind but firm. "But I can't go back, not even as friends. You tried to destroy my life. That's not something a conversation fixes." He glanced at his watch. "I have someone waiting for me." Her eyes narrowed just slightly. "Someone?" He nodded. "Yeah, her name's Simone. She stood by me when she didn't have to." Tiana's face crumpled for a moment before she forced a bitter smile. "Of course," she said quietly. "Take care, Jordan." Jordan walked away, the city lights reflecting in office windows like small constellations. He could feel Tiana's gaze on his back, but it no longer weighed him down. Around the corner, Simone was waiting by his car, bundled in a warm coat, her smile soft and genuine. They drove off with music playing, his carefully curated playlist bass low, vocals smooth. At a red light, Simone laced her fingers through his. He inhaled, the scent of his new cologne mixing with the faint sweetness of her perfume, thinking how different this love felt. In time, Jordan's life became fuller than he'd ever imagined. He dominated at work, respected for both his talent and his integrity. He and Simone took weekend trips, went to concerts, debated albums, and laughed over matching sneakers and shared fashion finds. He added one more tattoo, a minimalist design on his forearm, symbolizing growth after fire. His love for music, cars, masculine fragrance, and fashion remained. But now, they were part of a life grounded in peace rather than chaos. He'd been betrayed, humiliated, and nearly broken, but he'd learned something priceless. Real love doesn't require the destruction of your soul. If you enjoyed this story, please comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.